equation of a line, standard form. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. So I'm going to put a big box around that because that's important. That's what standard form is. Where a, b, and c are integers. Now that's important. Remember what integers are. They're our natural numbers, their opposites, and 0. So the key here is to remember that that's not a fraction or decimal. So I went ahead and wrote that down. It's important. They have to be integers. A and b are not both going to be 0, and typically a is positive most of the time. Okay, so we've got this first one here, 3x plus 5y equals 15, and we're gonna see why we would even want something in standard form. So it asks for us to determine our x and y intercepts. Well, x and y intercepts, that's where we're gonna cross the x and y axis. So if I wanna find my x intercept, I'm gonna set y to 0 because that's when I'm on the x-axis. Okay, so let's plug in 0 for y to find our x-intercept. So 3x plus 5 times 0 equals 15, and we're just gonna solve for x. Okay, so I've done the math to find my x-intercept, and right now it says x equals 5. Now remember, intercepts are points where we cross the x-axis in this case for x-intercept. So that is not written properly. I need to make sure I write that as a point. So 5, 0. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that since I'm right here. I'm going to do the same thing for the y, but to find the y-intercept, I'm going to set x to 0. So 3 times 0, because now x is 0, plus 5y equals 15, and I'm just going to solve for y. Okay, I got y equals 3, and yet again, it's a y-intercept, so it's a point, so I'm going to make sure to write it as 0, 3, because I set x equal to 0, so that's why that coordinate's 0. Okay. So I have my y-intercept 0, 3. I went ahead and plotted it. So only thing I need to graph a line is 2 points. I have it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my straight edge and graph my line. So if I have something in standard form, it's pretty quick to find my x and y intercepts. So then I'd have 2 points to graph a line. So that's kind of the perk of standard form, is I can find x and y intercepts quickly. Okay, so it's your turn. Go ahead and see if you can do number 2.
So getting your x and y-intercept, the x-intercept is 4, 0, the y-intercept is 0, negative 2. We'll go ahead and graph those. We connect our 2 points, we have our line, yay.
Next, we're gonna convert to standard form. We really need to be careful here. We wanna make sure we have our x's and y's on the same side, and we also really wanna check to make sure we don't have any fractions or decimals because we're supposed to have a, b, and c as integers. This is really good for our number sense. So if I'm gonna convert to standard form, let me go ahead and write my general standard form off to the side. Ax plus by equals c. Then I'm just gonna go ahead and make a quick list about what I need to do to make sure I have something in standard form. Thing 1, okay, is to get x and y on the same side. That's gonna be my first goal. All right, so if I look at my equation, do I have x and y on the same side? No. I'm gonna go ahead and move my x to the other side, so I'm gonna subtract 3x over to the other side. So then I'm gonna have negative 3x plus y, those aren't like terms so I can't combine them, equals negative 7 is the only thing left on the right side. All right, so it looks kind of like standard form here, but the second step is to check to make sure a, b, and c are all integers, that I don't have fractions or decimals involved. So if I check a is negative 3, b is 1, and c is negative 7, so it looks like they're all integers, so I'm good to go. Now remember, it said most often that a is positive, so what I could do here is multiply through by negative 1. So this is an answer, but if I want to make sure my a is positive, I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 1. So I would have positive 3x, distributing that negative 1 to the y, negative y equals negative 7 times negative 1 is 7. Be really careful when you do that. Every single thing needs to receive that negative 1. Let's try number 4 together. So first step, get x and y on the same side. So I'm going to move that 9.1x to the other side through subtraction. Okay, second step, check to make sure a, b, and c are integers. Negative 9.1, holy moly, that is so not an integer because it's a decimal. Okay, so I'm going to need to make sure I multiply this by something so I can wipe out these decimals.
Wait, let me in. Decimals are my jam. Okay, real quick tutorial. Here we go. 4 and 8/10 plus y equals 7.2, so 7 and 2/10. All I have to do is multiply everything by 10. How did I know? 8/10. 10 times 4.8 is 48x plus 10y equals, whoops, don't forget this guy, 72. What happens if I had something like 0.52? Well, that's 52 hundredths. So in order to clear 2 decimal places, I would have to multiply that by 100, in which case I would get 52. And likewise, 0.973, 973 thousandths. So multiply it by 1,000 and it would become 973. There's your quick tutorial on how to clear a decimal.
Oh, well, negative 9.1, that's just negative 9 1/10, so I just multiply by 10. Negative 91x plus 10y equals 36. Woo! No decimals anymore, and I have all integers. Still have that negative a though, so I'm gonna go ahead and real quick multiply by a negative 1 so that I have a positive a in front. Darn it, if I would have noticed, I could have multiplied by negative 10 up here instead of having to multiply twice. Bummer. Either way's fine. Look what I did, you guys. I forgot to multiply in my negative to my 10y. Make sure you're being really, really careful there. Negative 10y equals negative 36. Everything gets that negative, and the 91 is the only thing left positive. 5, we've got 3/8 x minus 1/4 y equals negative 7. Looks like my x and y are already on the same sign, so that's step 1 done. But I need to have a, b, and c be all integers, and I've got some serious fractions going on here. So I've got this 3/8 and this 1/4 that I need to turn into integers. So looking at the denominators here, I have an 8 and a 4. So what would be the common denominator between both of these? Well, 4 times 2 is 8 and 8 times 1 is 8, so that way they would be common. So if I just multiply by an 8, I can have integers here. So I'm gonna multiply by 8. Now, why is that allowed again? Because I have this equal sign, and I'm gonna maintain equality by multiplying by both sides. I'm only allowed to do this for equations. Don't try to do this with expressions. Be sure you distribute your 8. So 8 times 3/8, my 8s would divide out and I'd have 3x minus 8 times 1/4. Well, 8 times 1 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. Y equals negative 56. Woo! Look, and my a is positive, so I officially have my standard form. So with fractions, we looked for a common denominator to multiply by. With decimals, we look for a power of 10. Go ahead, give the next two a try. 6 and 7. You got this.
Number 6. 390x plus 100y equals 426. You might have gotten stuck on this one. I hope you didn't. We had tenths with 3.9, but we had 26 hundredths. So I had to multiply by 100, and that might have made it a little bit tricky. If you need to, pause it, look at that, and make sure you understand. On number 7, we had a denominator of 2 and a denominator of 3. So the lowest common denominator is 6. So I had to multiply everything by 6. If you got this correct, wonderful. But just keep in mind that when we're working with fractions, we do not want to pull out a calculator. We want to do them. If we need to, go ahead and do a side note. I do this all the time, and it helps us with our number sense. So 6/1 times negative 2/3, and so on. And that's how we got the negative 4. I could have noticed I wanted to multiply by negative 6 so that my a was positive, and I would have done it in one step. But once again, I kind of didn't catch it. So you can always do it in 2 steps, but hey, let's try and catch it next time. 3x minus 6y equals 4. Same thing. If you need to, pause it, look at the work, fix your work.
Slope. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 all over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Vertical change over horizontal change.
Point slope form. Y minus y sub 1 equals m parentheses x minus x sub 1.
From point slope form, we can get to slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b.
Or a plus bx. Remember, slope is always with x.
Standard form. Ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are integers.
And parallel lines have same slope.
Perpendicular have opposite reciprocal.